Hey, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to Shifting Lanes. My name is Hanson. Thanks for tuning into the video. And for this one, you find me sitting in the 2021 Hyundai Veloster N with dual clutch transmission. And I want to share with you my likes and dislikes about this totally crazy hot hatch from Hyundai so that you have a better idea before you buy. I'll give you my recommendation up front right now. I love the Veloster N. I love it so much that I actually personally own one. Mine is a 2020 model year with the performance package, and I've done some slight modifications to it to fit my personal tastes. So if you want to see my journey with it thus far, please click on the link up here. So in this review, I'll be comparing this new 2021 model with dual clutch transmission compared to my own, the previous year's car. So if you're thinking about getting into a Veloster N or deciding to get maybe an older version, hopefully this video will help you out. Now, the Veloster N has been out for 3 years now, and I have never seen any model go through so many drastic changes in just a few years, and almost all of them are very good. Let's first go over some of the obvious differences first. Cost. The new one starts at $32,250, whereas the old one's base price was $27,600, a difference of $4,650. Now, the old Veloster N's base price was fairly low because it didn't include the $2,100 performance pack, which gave you bigger wheels, bigger brakes, better engine tuning, and also an electronic limited slip diff. That performance pack was a huge bargain, and Hyundai must have sold a lot of them with performance packs to justify just including it outright for the 2021 model year and increasing the base price. But that still doesn't address the additional premium. If the performance pack is $2,100, what else is Hyundai giving you to charge the extra $2,550? Well, you might have noticed that these front seats look very different compared to mine, and the front seats is the next culprit. These seats are so good. I love seats that hug you. The very first car I ever bought was a 2006 Mitsubishi Evo 9, and I love that car so much, and it had great Recaro seats. These seats remind me a lot of that. The side bolsters are beefy, and they provide a lot of lateral support. These seats also weigh 2 kilograms less. That's 4.4 pounds. They also look a lot slimmer, and you can even tell where the airbags are located. Sitting in here, it feels much more premium. One downside is that if you're a larger person in the horizontal direction, you may not be able to fit in here because this is a lot more restrictive compared to the old one. So where else does the extra cost come from? My guess is safety, and there's a lot of safety features found in this new Veloster N. One of the first things that I noticed when I jumped in this car was that the side view mirror on the driver's side had no blind spot mirror. And that's because this new Veloster N is equipped with blind spot monitoring system and rear cross traffic alert. Those are great safety features. And if you look at the rear view mirror mount, you'll notice that there's a lot more going on here as well. In the previous Velosters, you'll find that the rear view mirror has a simple mount, and on this one you'll find a larger housing, and that's where all of your sensors are located. Basically, this car has LFA, LKA, and FCA. What does all of that mean? It means that this car is now so much smarter compared to the previous one. Now, there's an actual camera fitted in here, and that's how you get the lane following assist. That camera will actually detect the lane markers. So this Veloster N will actually steer itself if the conditions are right and if you're holding on to the steering wheel, and it'll even drive through gentle curves. Now, this camera will also give you forward collision avoidance assist, which does a good job of giving you a heart attack to warn you that you're about to hit something. The last improvement that justifies that extra premium is the infotainment system. The infotainment system has been totally redesigned to reflect Hyundai's latest user interface. It works. The menu system makes sense. The music interface looks a bit more retro with the two-band presentation. And there's also navigation standard in here, which the old one didn't have. So that must have contributed to the price increase somewhat. But my favorite part of this infotainment redesign is this custom mode G-meter style presentation. This is so much better compared to last year's version. Now, anytime I would jump into my Veloster N, I would always press this button twice to put myself into custom mode. And in custom mode, you could change all the different driving parameters like your engine, transmission, your limited slip diff, your exhaust, your suspension, your steering, and your electronic stability control. All of those things can be tweaked on the custom page. And I don't like to drive in N mode because even though I like the aggressive sound, I hated how the suspension was so stiff just for everyday driving. And also the steering was a little bit too stiff for my taste. So therefore I like to put it into custom mode. But in the previous generation menu, you have to go through each page separately, and it took a lot of browsing through the menu, which wasn't so streamlined. So for this one, they've presented it in this circular diagram fashion, so it's a lot easier to tweak rather than jumping in between pages. So you could switch it anytime you please, even when you're driving. So for these sliders, the closer in you go to the center, the more normal it is, and the further out it goes to Sport and then Sport Plus, the more aggressive it is. So when I'm driving this one, again, I like to go back to the softest suspension, the lightest steering, and also the loudest exhaust possible. Aside from those upgrades, the difference between my Veloster N and this Veloster N, and it's the pink elephant in the room, is that this one is an automatic. This one comes equipped with a $1,500 8-speed dual clutch transmission. With this transmission, you also get a lot of unique features like NGS, NTS, and NPS. That's a lot of fancy terms, but the most important one is NGS. You can access it via this button here. It is simply an overboost function so that it will allow the turbo to generate more boost for a short amount of time. So basically that increases the peak torque from 260 to 278 pound-feet of torque. That's 7% extra. Now you can only do this once for 20 seconds every 3 minutes. Most likely so that you don't overheat and damage the turbo. The nice thing about that is if you're using it only for 5 seconds and you deactivate it, you still have 15 seconds in reserve. So it almost feels like a nitro boost function in an arcade racing game. NGS is basically like a push to pass function. Say if you're cruising on the highway, pushing the NGS button will bump you down a bunch of gears to the point where your engine is making peak torque for that speed. So it'll be much easier to accelerate. What also happens is that your exhaust will sound like a machine gun. And that's thanks to Hyundai's anti-lag system, where they can retard the spark timing so that combustion partially happens outside of the cylinder and in the exhaust manifold. That will basically accelerate a lot of the combustion gases so that it can really help spool up that turbo. As for NTS, it just means that the shifting logic for the dual clutch transmission is going to mimic racetrack conditions. So for example, if you're hard on the brakes, it just thinks that you're going to be powering through the exit of a corner. So basically it'll bump down a couple of gears so that you're making peak power. And as for NPS, it just means that if your throttle is pressed more than 90%, you're going to shift much harder. It almost feels like power shifting in a manual transmission. Basically, there's less acceleration loss, and when it shifts, it bucks really hard. All in all, if you want to squeeze out as much performance as possible out of a Veloster N, you have to get the dual clutch. You will always win out against a manual transmission version. I'm willing to put my money on it. A stock Veloster N with manual transmission will never beat a stock Veloster N with the DCT. And it's not just because of this transmission being able to shift much faster than a pro driver can all the time. It's basically that overboost function. It gives you 7% extra peak torque. It just means that this is going to be making more power at all times. But is it fun? Is it engaging? It's not as fun as a manual transmission, and you knew that coming into this video. Yes, the DCT is going to be able to put down consistently faster lap times, but at the end of the day, I'd rather row my own gears. And in fact, if you care about this, the mileage on a DCT is worse than the manual transmission. So if you're out there thinking, should I get the 2021 Veloster N? Should I get the DCT? Or should I get an older model? Here's a few questions for you. Do you know how to drive a manual? If you don't, and there's absolutely no shame in this, then get the 2021 Veloster N with the DCT. If you do know how to drive a manual, then absolutely get the manual transmission. It is so much more fun to drive. The faster times are only great when you're autocrossing or when you're at the track. When you're just cruising, the manual transmission is just going to be so much more fun to drive. And it's also kind of lame when you're pulling up on someone and trying to rev and you have to shift into neutral first. Next question, Will this be your daily driver, and do you face a lot of bumper-to-bumper traffic? If yes to both, then get the DCT, because nothing is worse than endlessly exercising your left leg with the clutch on your commute. Do you care about the latest and greatest safety features? If yes, get the 2021, because the blind spot monitoring system, rear cross traffic alert, and the lane following assist system, which can be accessed through here, they are great safety features. And lastly, do you like to have fun at a cheaper price? If yes, then get an older model, hopefully one that hasn't been abused. So if you've been excited about the 2021 Veloster N, you're totally right for being so, because this is an exceptional car. Hyundai took what was already a crazy car and made it just a little bit better, a little bit nuttier, and a lot more safe. The only thing that got worse in this car, aside from the mileage, is that this cup holder is slightly smaller than the previous years. I mean, what the hell is that all about, Hyundai? Anyway, that's my review of the 2021 Hyundai Veloster N with dual clutch transmission. I hope you learned something, and if you did, please consider hitting that like button. And if you have not already, hit that subscribe and that notification bell button so that you can be notified anytime we make a new video. I want to thank you so much for watching all the way till the end. My name's Hanson. This has been the 2021 Hyundai Veloster N with the 8-speed dual clutch transmission, and I'll see you next time.